Quilty is brought to you by APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Clothworks, inspiring creativity with art on fabric. Havel's Sewing, when you need to cut it close, choose Havel's. P&B, our fabrics, your lifestyle. Quiltology, the urban quilt space.
Quilty.
If you want to make a quilt, you're going to need some tools. It's tool-torial time today on Quilty. Sorry, I'm just having a little drink of water out of my Quilty mug. Nice, huh? So welcome to the show. We are talking about, it's a tool-torial, right? Get it? Tools, tutorial, tool-torial. We're going to talk about everything that you need to make a quilt, tools-wise. I separated these tools in my mind and in this show into three categories. The first category is need, necessity. You must have these tools to make anything that even remotely resembles a quilt top. The second category is called suggested or recommended. These are tools that you're going to want to have eventually. You're going to need them. You will need them eventually, but not probably right away. And the third category is I'm buying that, which means like they're really great things, but you may or may not need them depending on the kinds of quilts you make. Okay, so the first category is the necessity category. The thing you're going to need to make a quilt to begin with is some fabric, obviously, some fabulous P&B fabric that we're using here to show you that you need lots of fabric, and boy, there is a lot of fabric out there for you to use. So go forth, buy beautiful fabrics. Cotton broadcloth is what we use to make quilts, so get some good cotton fabric for your quilts and start there, okay? After you have fabric, you are going to need to cut it, right? So you need a rotary cutting system. You can cut things by hand using fabric scissors. You can cut all those little pieces by hand and spend a long, long time doing it, or you can do it all with a rotary cutting system, and that includes a rotary cutter, a rotary cutting ruler, and a rotary cutting mat, right? And a safety glove, because you always want to be safe when you're using your rotary cutter. These are your cutting supplies, and you will need them to cut strips of fabric to make your quilts, okay? But you do still need scissors. These are wonderful scissors. We love them because they're so sharp and lovely. These scissors should be dedicated. Don't be cutting cardboard and cutting, all kinds of crazy things with your fabric scissors. Keep them for fabric, and they'll always stay sharp and be really great for you. So a couple different sizes is usually good to cut thread and then to cut larger pieces of fabric. That's good. You'll need pin cushions because you need to pin things, and you need to put those pins in a safe place. So pins are part of that equation. Pins and pin cushions you'll have to have. These pins I really love because they are very sharp and they are very thin and they have glass heads. Good quality pins are important. And I actually really recommend that you have 2 pin cushions, because as you move from the ironing surface to the sewing machine and back and forth from the ironing board to the sewing machine, you need to put these pins away, and otherwise you have to keep carrying your pin cushion back and forth. So I actually would recommend getting 2. Also, you're going to need the tape measure. It's just very good to have a long tape measure that's measuring the size of your quilts, all those borders that you're going to add. You're going to need some thread. I like Aurifil thread. I'm a little biased. You'll need some things to mark on. You're going to want to take notes and things. Post-its are awesome to have, and a marking pen that is not meant for fabric, but it's just meant to mark paper with. That's good to make notes for yourself. And a fabric marking pen is a good thing to have. A seam ripper is a great thing to have. You really can't start this project without a seam ripper, so get one because you will make mistakes and it's okay. And this is sewing machine needle replacements. Your needle will get dull after a certain amount of time. Some quilters say 4 hours, every 4 hours change your needle, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Depends on how your patchwork is coming along. Of course, you will need a sewing machine to make a quilt, and I love this Melody, my Baby Lock, I love very much. It's a great machine. I sew on it all the time, and with it, you will need to have your owner's manual. Have it handy, refer to it, use it. It's there to help you. It should never be far from your sewing machine. The 2 last things I want to say that you really need to have for this, just your basics, are your iron and your ironing surface, obviously. Can't forget that, because cutting, sewing, and pressing, that's what quilting is all about. So you need an iron and an ironing surface or an ironing board. And you're going to need a game plan. So a magazine, a book, a pattern that you've gotten from the internet. Hopefully you've purchased it and you're helping those quilters and those designers out there buying their patterns and their books. You're going to need a game plan, and this is a good example of a book that has lots of good techniques and patterns that you can use. So those are the basics, okay? Let's do the next one. Suggested a 1/2 ruler. Eventually you're going to want to start making quilts that have triangles in them. You're going to want to start doing things that are a little fancier. There's a lot of rulers on the market. They all help you do different things. So you'll eventually start trying to, you're going to want to start amassing these different rulers. Okay, so this is one example. This is a 1/2 ruler. It's great to have. Other marking implements. These are chalk pencils. There's yellow, there's white, they come in blue. This is a stiletto. It sort of works to hold fabric in place as you're sewing on your machine. This is a glue stick when you're doing projects that involve paper piecing, or sometimes a little dab of glue can help keep things in place as you're going. That's nice. And this glue stick, by the way, I just want to show you, it's blue glue, so it doesn't, it's kind of nice. It doesn't show up on like light colored fabrics. It just kind of keeps things nice and it doesn't dry out. So that's good. A glue stick is good to have. This is another marking implement. It's a ceramic pencil. It's actually made out of ceramic. Like these are the inserts here, the little refills, I mean. Ceramic is really good for marking certain things. It's just a nice marking implement to have, and it doesn't break off. It's really good. These are basting needles. This is just to sort of show you that you need different needles for different things. Different presser feet for your sewing machine. This is a patchwork foot. I highly recommend getting one. I think it'll really help you in your patchwork. It usually doesn't come with a sewing machine, so you have to buy it separate, and I recommend getting that. These are snips. I love these snips. The more people really kind of collect snips, like the more precise they are, the better they are for snipping small things like thread and little bits of fabric, dog ears off of your patchwork. And different size rotary cutters can come very, very much in handy. Small wheeled rotary cutters are good for curved seams and stuff like that. So those are some suggested tools that I think you should have, and we're going to take a look at one more category right now. The third category, the I'm buying that category, is like, how do you say? I mean, there's a million things to help you make a quilt and a million gorgeous, juicy, lovely tools that you're going to want to buy and things you're going to want to buy. But here's just a small selection of things that you're going to be like, I want that. And things that do help you make your quilt. But stuff that's good to have that you'll eventually sort of amass is like a little reading glass. Helps you see what you're doing. Helps you look at imperfections maybe in your quilt that you want to fix. Who cares? But, that would be good to have. Various templates. There's a million templates, and you can make them yourself like we've done on an episode of Quilty before. Photo fabric, something like this. There's all kinds of things like this. You can take a picture and print it onto your fabric, which is way cool, like an iron-on transfer, stuff like that. There's lots of different products like that, and that can be really fun. If you start to do paper piecing, stabilizing, machine applique, you're going to have there's lots of different papers and fusible web and those things. This is a design wall. It's in a package. A design wall is a big piece of felt that you hang on a wall, so you can put your patchwork up on it to sort of see how it lays out. It's really, really helpful, and I recommend getting one. But this is a project bag. I recommend getting something like this. This is you put your patchwork projects in it as you work, so they stay dust free. And this one is great because it lies flat, so it keeps your patchwork really flat. And I have a couple of these project bags full of things that I need to finish. Not too many, but you can also just use a regular tote bag as well. You don't have to have a fancy project bag. I've put many quilt projects in a tote bag too. Of course, you will always want to buy more fabric, so that's something that you will continue to buy because it's kind of the most fun part of all the tools that we have here. So thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter, become our friend on Facebook, read the blog, heyquilty.com, and thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all the viewers' emails, and we're happy that you're watching the show. Thanks.
Quilty is brought to you by APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Clothworks, inspiring creativity with art on fabric. Havel Sewing, when you need to cut it close, choose Havel's. E&B, our fabrics, your lifestyle. Quiltology, the urban quilt space.